Oh, hey, what's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? Good morning. Happy Thursday, everyone. Looks like a beautiful day out there. Not too hot, not too cold. Are we already talking about the weather? Must be a slow day. Well, not really. There was a lot of things happening this week. A lot of stuff happening this week, and sometimes I gotta remember that despite all the stressful moments, life is still good. Life is still good where, you know, lots of stuff, lots of good things are still going on. A lot of good things are still going on, and that's what I really wanted to talk about today, about all the good things that are going on. And let me check if everything is working today. Yep, everything is working. Okay, everything is working fine. I'm just not getting all the questions right here, but if you guys have any questions, please let me know. Oh, we got Tara Lee. Good morning, Tara. How are you? I hope everyone is doing well today. I'm just missing the count, so it's throwing me off a little. Ooh, you know who else we got here? Mike Lee Hong. Mike Lee, how are you doing? Mike Lee is a guy that I don't know where we met, but we started chatting online. We started chatting online recently. Really cool dude. And anyways, why don't I get on to why I think my life is so great. So yeah, there have been lots of ups and downs over the last few months. I used to travel a lot, once or twice a week, and when you're traveling a lot, you don't get to see your family. And so when I got to stay home, really spend the whole day with my family, it was really cool. We also started doing homeschooling because of shelter in place. I did realize that, hey, maybe I'm not the best. Maybe I'm not the best homeschool teacher, but it's okay. It's okay if I'm not, because I'm getting to spend the time with my children, and I think that the fact that they get to spend more time with me, has really enriched their lives in ways that are hard to quantify, They're really hard to quantify, and I really, really love that. And the other thing is that there are tons and tons of who is texting me right now? Oh, my friend Ophelia is texting me. Sorry, distracted me a little bit. But yeah, one thing that I realized that I really need to start doing more of, we do this verbally. We talk about what we're grateful for all the time, and I started just writing down those things in my journal again. And you know what? Writing them down has really been transformative. Saying them is one thing, but actually writing down what you're grateful for. There's something about the act of writing something down that is really transformative. Not just typing them, but writing them with your hand. Yesterday I was asking for some new drawing tools for my daughter, and in my search for a new drawing pad, a lot of people had told me, like, don't forget to have her work with paint, to work with clay, to work with other art mediums, because there's something about the tactile feedback of doing something like that that is very, very powerful and allows them to better understand the 3D space before they get into the 2D digital world. Yeah. Yeah, sorry. A lot of people are texting me right now. A little bit distracting. No problem. Yeah, and you know what? Another thing that I'm really grateful for and why my life is so good is I found a really good digital tribe. People that I never met, that I've met on Zoom calls, and really made a connection with. That is really amazing to me, that is possible. I used to think that you had to see people face to face in order to make a connection, but now I know that it's 100% possible that you can do this when you are just looking at someone over Zoom. And I started going to a lot of these men's groups where we talk about our emotions and what's bothering us. And I gotta tell you, I've always been supported by a lot of females in my life. They've given me a lot of support in all the different things that I wanted to do. And, mainly my male friends, we would talk about sports, we would talk about work, we would talk about all of our ambitions. But when it came to being more vulnerable, typically I would speak to my female friends. And more recently, I started going to these men's groups where we do these emotional check-ins once a week. And during the emotional check-ins, we often talk about, the things that bother us, the things that really make us scared, the things that are making us anxious. And it is really cool. It is really cool to be able to be supported by men. And a lot of these men I've never met before, not face to face, and being able to be vulnerable with them and tell them what's bothering me. And, during these emotional check-ins, they don't really even give you an answer. They don't tell you, oh, everything's going to be okay, or that's normal, I've gone through this. I realized that just the act of talking about things, just the act of being acknowledged, that is really helpful. It touches me in ways that it's very hard to quantify and it's very hard to explain. But I do know that everyone that goes to these things, they have a really transformative experience as well. So, that is something that I think, for men, for women, like if you guys are feeling a little bit alone or, just not connecting with a lot of people, there are a lot of really great groups. And, I wanted to shout out this guy, Marcus Fung. Marcus Fung, he is, his nickname is called the World Bridger. And, he does a whole bunch of different things. He plays music, he teaches kids music, really tries to integrate the art into their lives to really enrich them. And he's been showing up to a lot of these groups too. I found it to be quite cathartic to speak with him. Oh shit, this is so crazy. The second I start talking about Marcus, he shows up on my feed. That is serendipity right there. And you know what? I am going to... No, so Marcus, I do use Ecamm, and Ecamm is what I'm broadcasting with. That's what shows all these graphics on the bottom. But I use Restream, and Restream actually goes to Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. And you know what? I'm going to open a new room for anyone that wants to join me. Hold on right here. Let me start that room. Mame is in the house, or Mime, sorry, I can't remember how to pronounce it. Mame is in the house. If anyone wants to join me, I'm going to put a little link here in the comments section. Yeah, feel free to join me on the Skype call. Just let me know. Yes, the World Bridger representing. And that is cool. What a cool nickname, bridging the world. I'm down for that. And he got it, 8 animals kung fu. Now I don't know what he's talking about, but maybe if he joins me online, he will. Yes, Mime is in the house. Hey, Mime is a cool ass dude. I met him from the Badass Asian Dudes group. He's out in Korea now. He just sent me a video of these really cool Korean women eating military food and whether or not that food was good. It was pretty hilarious. It is pretty hilarious. Oh, whoops. I didn't even start the call. Here we go. Oh, Lydia Ambrose is in the house. Man, this is awesome. So many of my friends joining me right now. Watching. Mime is working on his YouTube channel. As he should be. Oh man, this is what I love to. Maybe I gotta leave this comment. You are a fucking god, mate. I love that he calls me mate too. Did you ever live in like Australia, or is that some word that Koreans utilize for some reason out there? It's pretty cool. And you know what? Yeah, I can't wait. You know what? We're gonna try to arrange a Badass Asian Dudes retreat where we could all meet. And for people wondering what Badass Asian Dudes is, well, Badass Asian Dudes is a group that we created for Asian males that we think are badasses. And, we need it. Being a badass, that's really changed. Like my definition of badass has really changed, because when I was younger, I used to think badasses were people that had great jobs, that dated, whoever they wanted to date, drove awesome cars. And, you know, it's true. If you do all those things, you're kind of a badass. But, you know, for me, being a badass is much more internal than that. You know, we wanted to exemplify the internal badass. And what is the internal badass? Well, the internal badass is someone that is very, very, you know, comfortable and confident in who they are and won't change who they are based on other people. And, you know, yesterday I got into a lot of discussions on whether William Hung is a badass or not. And a lot of people don't think he's a badass. A lot of people think of him as the American Idol flunk out, you know, a guy that basically gave Asian men a really bad impression, you know, and I get it. You know, he's kind of nerdy looking. He's not like an alpha male. He speaks funny. He kind of looks like he's on the spectrum, to be honest. And I think a lot of people were upset with him because he was being exploited. And, you know, I had a discussion with my wife. Was William Hung being exploited? Did he know he was being exploited? You know, it's hard to say he didn't know because he wasn't that good of a singer. And, you know, I don't know what was going through his mind. He was like a college student at the time. And we all know when we're in college how much we want to be loved, right? Like, I know that I kind of fell into that. And if I had the opportunity to be a star like him, I probably would have taken it. But, you know, the thing is, for me, and maybe a lot of people will disagree, but for me, you know, I thought he was a badass because he still sang. He's still sang despite what everyone told him. And he said that when Simon told him, "You're a horrible singer," he stopped and said, "Well, you might be right, Simon, but I tried my best. I did my best. And I'm proud of myself." And to me, that was the main thing, man, is that despite a guy like Simon Cowell telling him it was trash, he still did it. And another thing that he said that really resonated with me on a TED Talk was that when people told him he was a disgrace to Asian males, he thought to himself, and he said, "How should I respond?" And he said, "I'm going to respond with love." You know, and to me, that was like so powerful. Because I know if people told me I was doing a poor job representing Asian male, I would have responded with fucking fist of fury, dude. I would have probably said, "You know what? Let's go test your 8 animal kung fu skills against my kung fu skill, and we'll see who comes out on top." You know, who comes out on top. Hey, the World Bridger is here. The World Bridger is fucking here. What's up, Marcus? How are you doing? Oh wait, hold on. I gotta stop this audio. I gotta bring your audio on. Okay. Let me see. Can I hear you now? Can you start speaking again? This is weird. Cannot hear you. All right. Well, hey, you know, one thing. Well, as Marcus gets his audio going, look at that new microphone. He's got a new microphone too. You might have to go into your Skype settings, Marcus, and then activate that microphone, like the Skype audio preferences. And here, I'm gonna give some sound effects to Marcus. Marcus is in the house. That's the power of Ecamm Live, Marcus. Those sound effects. Okay. Sorry, can't get sound. I might have to bail. You know what? We'll work on that. Marcus, you know what, Marcus? Mercury is in retrograde, dude. That's why all the technical stuff isn't working. But you know what? I love seeing your smile. Just seeing that smile brought a smile to my face. And you know what? We're still going to have a good time. The Shaolin streamer. Oh, man. Tara Lee. What's going on, Tara? I hope life is good for you right now. Tara's watching. We got a whole bunch of people watching right now. They want to hear from Marcus, Oh, man. Well, Marcus, maybe he'll come back one of these days. Oops. Wrong camera. There we go. All right, let's get the music going again then. I love having this music in the background. Oh yes. Oh yes. You know what? It's 8:56. Tara. I love you, Tara. Thank you. I love you. Catherine, I love you too. Thank you everyone for watching. I really appreciate it, you know. And, you know, just to circle back to why I started this, you know, my life being great. It's true. I do have a great life, and I believe we all have great lives. You know, we just have to focus on the things that are awesome. You know, like my kids being downstairs. You know, I was so frustrated trying to homeschool them, but I realized, man, what a gift to be able to try and school my kids. Anna is in the house. Anna, I love watching your morning wake and bakes. I don't comment a lot, but I usually watch a few minutes in the morning before I get food for my daughters. If you guys want to learn about culture and history, go check out Anna's live. Excuse me, I can't even speak right now. Go check out Anna's live streams in the morning. They're really cool. You know, I love listening to them. She has a lot to say, you know. And back to what I was saying about, you know, being grateful. You know, being grateful has really helped, you know, like being in the cannabis industry. Anyone that's been in the cannabis industry knows how tough it's been the last few years. You know, all the mom and pop brands, well, not even mom and pop brands, all the small, medium-sized brands, you know, they've had a really tough time competing against these huge brands that have raised tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, sometimes billions of dollars. And it's really hard to compete. It's really hard to compete against people that have raised that much money. But you know what? The great thing is, those guys that raised all that money, they're having a tough time too. You know, because the business models that they thought worked, you know, just try to outspend everyone. You know, people are starting to see, just because you have nice packaging doesn't mean you have a nice product inside. And that's why I'm grateful. I'm grateful that my company's still around and that we have another chance to keep competing against these big behemoths and showing that the little guys could still survive. You know, I haven't raised as much money as them. I've raised in the 7 figures, not in the 8 figures. And that was for the last 6 years, and we're still around. That means we've come up with business models that allow us to survive without outside capital investment. You know, and I come from the high-tech software industry where you spend a lot. You lose money for years and years, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, and you hope to have enough market share in order to compete with people. And as we've seen, there's only one Amazon, there's only one Facebook, there's only one Uber. Well, I guess there's Lyft, but yeah, when you think about it, you know, when you have this business model where you could lose money for years to try to gain market share and then to try to profit, there's not a lot of winners. And that's why I think it's really important to have a different type of entrepreneurship, one where the business models can sustain themselves. You know, like, yeah, do I want a $1 billion company? Of course. But will I feel like a failure if I don't have a $1 billion company? I don't see why I should. You know, I'm able to feed a bunch of families based on what we're doing. I'm able to feed my family, and I'm able to do it in a way where I feel really good about myself. You know, about the way that we treat our customers, about the way we treat our partners, and people love doing business with us, you know, and I think that's one of the things that's really given me a lot of hope, that's made me happy, is that we don't have the best prices. We do have the best products, though. I'm confident in that. I'm confident in the Alpha Pen. Yes, yes. Tara, what kind of business do you own in ag? Do you guys do, are you guys growing? Would love to learn more. Yeah, but here's our Alpha Pen. If you want to support Burner Labs, go to brnrlab.com, you know, and get yourself an Alpha Pen. It's only 20 bucks. And you know what? I'm very, very sure that you'll love it. And yeah. Boo Williams, yes. Yes. Boo Williams is in the house. Hey, Boo Williams, he just had a birthday the other day. Happy belated birthday. He's also a fellow Canadad. You know, I know this is a guy that I've seen him fight for his children. And I'm so glad. I'm so glad that you're You got your kids, boo. Because we all know how important kids are in our lives. You know, kids are, they're what I live for right now. And they're so motivating. And that's what really makes me happy, you know. Seeing my kids every day. Seeing how much they're in flow. Seeing how much they can enjoy things that are very simple. Like my favorite thing is when like my kids open like a brand new gift. And they play with the box instead of the new gift. It's hilarious. Hey, so Tara Lee is asking why Skype over Zoom. I'm not too sure how clear this looks on your end, but Skype is a lot more clear in general than Zoom. With Zoom, you start losing a little bit of the HD clarity. You're a lot more pixelated. So I just use Skype. And a little bit more controls. You know, when I'm using Skype, I could do different things like this. You know, boom. Sign up to win an alpha pen, or shit. That's not right anymore. Here we go. Yeah, there we go. Watch this. In real time, here we go. I'm a producer. I'm the producer and the talent. That's really cool, man. That's really cool. Ooh, here we go. Let's read what my boy Boo is saying right here. Whoops, sorry. See, that's what happens when you're the producer. Let's see. Thanks, dog. Ooh, do I hear? I hear someone else. Is Marcus back?
We're gonna try take two. Take two. Can you hear me?
All right. Yes. Yes, I do.
Yes. Okay. Well, let's see. All right. Hey, man, Sabo, I didn't mean to kill your flow. I know you were kind of jamming on something a little bit different there, which is a side of you that kind of fascinates me, which is your business, the way you navigate, business and life and family, and the way that you choose to express your authentic kind of your care for the world, man. I see that so clearly.
Thank you.
I love that about you.
Thank you. Am I looking at your ceiling right now?
Oh shit! Are we on the wrong camera? Damn it.
Hey.
Oh my god, yeah, you are. Okay,
so we're breaking stereotypes today. We're breaking stereotypes today. Asians are not all good at technology, all right, guys? Let's make that clear. And you know what? I am pretty good at fixing stuff, but my wife figured out my secret. Every time she wants me to fix something, all I do is I unplug it from the wall, wait 30 seconds, and then I plug it back in. And that almost fixes all the problems. Yeah, it's
so
pretty cool.
Can you see me now, Sabo?
No, I just see the Skype box, but I can hear you.
Oh my gosh, this is so silly. Yeah, so that's you know what, I'd like to say I am good at technology, and I also just like unplug and shut things off and let them power down for a few minutes. But yeah, you mentioned Mercury retrograde, and we were talking about that last night when a buddy of ours, we tried going live, for a few times in a row, and it was like 5-6 times in a row it just had error with the broadcast. And I think it's an interesting idea, like, when people talk about astrology and this idea that the ratio in the magnetic fields, the significance of the planetary movements, and the ancient cultures that tracked the movements of the stars, of the time, and the cycles. Like, I'll just give you an example, like in Tibetan or Mayan or the Vedic time and the East Indian wisdom traditions. It's like they tracked some time cycles to be up to 250,000 years. Like they were keeping track for that long. And so when we talk about Mercury retrograde having an effect on our technology, I mean, I'm definitely skeptical, and it's definitely easy to be like, oh, it's just because of this or just because of that, you know. And in some ways, we lose a little bit of power. In some ways, it's funny and it's just common culture. Kind of get what I'm saying, Sable?
Oh, totally.
Yeah, yeah.
It's I kind of go back and forth on these things. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Look at you.
This is.
You're in the matrix right now. Um,
Yo, let me out. Let me out.
but yeah, I mean, a part of me feels like, yeah, you do lose a little bit of control when you think, all right, Mercury in retrograde is like
Mm,
controlling all this. But man, at the same time, I've been really working on just letting go of control in general, and seeing like where it takes my life, because I never thought of myself as a control freak, because probably because I smoke a lot of weed and I'm kind of laid back and chill. But when I do things, I realize like I control the fuck out of them. Like I watch people, I'm like, how are you doing this? And I kind of do it in a way where I think because I'm stoned, I have less of this like controlling energy. But deep down inside me, I know I'm trying to
mm,
control a lot of stuff. And I also realize, that one of the things and what I loved about Flow Masters, and man, I feel like all I do is talk about Flow Masters these days. But what I love about Flow Masters is if you try to control yourself or you try to like paint an image, it's like really,
mm,
really hard to like flow well,
mm,
And
mm,
there have been a few times where I really felt like I caught the flow and I really exceeded my own ability or my own kind of like um, my own expectations of like how well I could flow. And these were ones where I really let go. I really just surrendered to the music. I trusted that Gavin and everyone else was holding the space for me. And then I tried, like some different rhyme patterns that weren't just your basic like nursery rhyme patterns. And it was like amazing to be able to express myself like that without anything holding me back. And that feeling that I got, it was unexplainable. And that's why I've been like such a huge fan of that, because as someone that has never felt like I really held back or bit my tongue, I realized like even like increasing my ability to be 1 or 2% more vulnerable, or 1 or 2% less judgy of myself, a
mm,
different side of me came out.
mm,
And
mm,
yeah, I just keep thinking about like what my life had been if I didn't
mm,
discover this.
mm,
And yeah, where
mm,
like how it's changed my perspective on a lot of things.
mm. Man, listening to you speak, Sabo, I can't hear the music, but I wish I could, but I'm just gonna imagine the beat there. But I mean, this what you're opening up here, I can't really tell who's listening, but I mean, for me, first thing, it's like it's relevancy. So whoever's listening, like how is flow or speaking or getting in our own way relevant to us? Because especially in this day and age, there's a lot of pressure, and I think it's healthy pressure. There's a lot of pressure to turn our lens of attention to and what we would normally reserve as like world events, or like, oh, that's happening on the news, that's happening out there. And I feel like we live in a kind of unprecedented time when it's not out there anymore. And given that there's a lot of communities that it's not out there for them, they're on the front lines of like defending their traditional territories, they're defending their communities and their way of life, and the racism and systemic oppression, all these things that I'm still kind of waking up to myself. So what I'm saying is that what fascinates me as someone who who likes to be fluid, or what we call world bridger. Sable's talking about flow masters is it's a very personal thing, where it's like you're working on your own self-expression. You're not even working, and I feel a lot of pressure these days from like, well, you shouldn't be working on your own thing. You should be caring about what's going on in the world out there. So there's these little two boxes, and then I heard Sable talk about control. Now, control is a really fascinating thing, because a lot of the world issues that I see, it's all power dynamics. You know what I mean? And I can say that safely from the seat of my own home in my boxers, as I'm sitting in my underwear. But understanding my own internal power dynamics, like what you said, Sabo, it's like I have this impression that I'm this easy going laid back guy, but man, I know like if the music's a little bit too loud, or if you're doing a little something, or you're not sweeping the floor like the way, I got all kinds of internal dynamics going on. And these moments where I'm truly able to just let go or just be and embrace the way things are, it's a very altered state of being, which feels like, what the great masters would talk about, just being at peace with things, even for a moment. So I'm going to go on just a little bit longer. So when you talk about surprising yourself, getting out of your own way, and accessing, a dimension of your being, I think that's relevant for people, because I think for generally any kind of person who's interested in any kind of basic self-awareness, there might be a greater need to turn inwards first. Just be like, oh, what about me? And what about my gifts? And what about how I'm walking on this earth? And if you can have a vehicle that helps to open up that insight, just like Flowmasters does, then I think you can express your truth more easily as to how you're relating to what's going on out there. I don't know. That was my go at it, Sable. I felt like I maybe hit about 80%, but I'm gonna pass back to you.
You know what? We are all Asians, but if you only hit 80%, I'm gonna call you a Bijan today. Super bad joke.
That was very punny.
Yes, just be happy you're not a Cesian like me. That was my goal, 78%, C+. That means I'm slightly better than average. And, well, if you're Hey, actually, I heard a very interesting thing. I read this book called Lucky You're Smart by Bo Peabody. And he was one of the early internet success stories. He had a website called GeoCities. And it sold for like 300 million, I think, in like the mid 90s. So I guess if you extrapolated that out today, it'd probably be $1 billion exit. But a lot of people built like their early websites on GeoCities. And anyways, he had this book called Lucky You're Smart. And he essentially was arguing that, being extremely intelligent is only one part of the equation, and being very lucky. And he said, like, it's not luck like you just show up at the right place at the right time, but like when you really prepare for something and you're really did like the full training and everything, like, well, luck just seems to kind of roll your way. And what he talked about was that in his career, if he hadn't met like his co-founder, who was a CTO, GeoCities would have never existed the way it did, because his co-founder really challenged him on a lot of ideas, and he realized if he was a single founder, he would have done a completely different business model. So he felt very lucky that he had someone that was not only on his level intelligently, but could challenge him emotionally without him getting defensive, so that they can make the proper decisions and the proper things. And he also had a pretty funny quote, which was, he said 4.0 students end up working for 2.0 students. And he had this theory that, like, if you're like a C+ guy, it doesn't matter if you go to community college, state college, or like, Princeton or Yale. If you're a C+ guy, you tend to always be a C+ guy, meaning that you just put in enough effort to kind of be better than the average person, and your whole kind of ethos is to try to be super efficient with your time. And and he translated like this into, like, when you're a CEO, you can't be proficient in every area. You have to have kind of high level knowledge over operations, marketing, accounting, sales, finance, all the different parts, but you can't be in the weeds. And that really resonated with me, because I always wanted to be like a subject matter expert in everything, so when I showed up at a party, I could act like the smartest dude in the room.
8 animals kung fu, man. You want it to be every style of animal.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And ultimately, what it all kind of brought me back to was, if I would just be the best version of myself, that'll be the best formula. It might not be the most successful formula right away, but in the long term, it's always served me best. And this kind of goes with even listening to investors and being afraid to push back against investors, because shit, these are the people giving you money, right? If they tell you like, hey, do it this way, you're kind of like, well, I should probably do it this way, because the next time I ask for money, these guys will give me money, right? And ultimately what I realized was, these people invested in me not to listen to them. They invested in me because they believed in my own autonomy and my own sovereignty of choices that I would give myself, not that I would just kowtow to them. And that was a big lesson for me to learn, and really reinforce to me like why it's important to have strong belief in like what you're doing, but also not to close my mind off to other people's suggestions. But if someone doesn't think my idea is a good idea, you know, I can't be so eager to just please people and change my idea because someone didn't like it.
Mm. Man, you know, there's so much there, Sabo, and part of what I'm passionate about is the power of our listening, you know, and the power that our listening has to transform the quality of our lives. And how does it have the power to transform the quality of our lives? Because our lives are made up of relationships, you know. So when I'm spending time with you, you know, I'm noticing my ability to listen to what you have to say, and it's kind of a game for me. I love pulling out like the nuggets, you know, and I want to just give it a try. So I heard you say something about, you know, Lucky or Smart, you know, this book, and I remember back in the GeoCity days, like, I mean, I think it's kind of like unheard of now, but you know, lucky or smart? Are you lucky or smart? And another thing I heard you say was, you know, when you first, this idea that you think you have to be proficient at everything, and the CEO realizes you cannot be proficient at everything. And the other thing that I heard, you know, relying more on like a team-based mentality. The third thing that I heard that really was interesting to me was this need for us to have support and to be challenged, right? And how can you be challenged in a way where you're not going to be defensive, or you know, your emotional triggers? How can you be in a space that you can be supported as well as challenged in a way that, you know, how that, I think was it you or the other CEO, that they would have made decisions, they would have went on a totally different business trajectory path. Yep. If it wasn't for the challenge. And so yeah, I'm just tying that all together, and it's just more like I'm just pulling out the nuggets from what you're saying. It's really great. Those are all relevant to me.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I really want to attend one of your sessions where you talk about this listening, because, you know, if I had to be honest for myself, you know, I'm a much better listener now, but in the past, what I was really good at was just waiting for my turn to talk. You know, like I would hear, like maybe I would hear like the first, you know, minute or two of whatever you were saying. And then I would formulate like whatever I was going to say. And then for the last however long you were talking, I'd just be waiting for you to stop talking so that it would be my turn to speak. You know, and it's funny because once I noticed this in myself, I could notice it in other people, because, you know, many times when I speak, I'll start off with one topic and then I'll use that topic as a segue into what I really want to speak about. And then when the person responds, he's responding to my setup, not what I was actually speaking about. And that's something I noticed in myself too, which is like, I'll key in on a few things, especially if something triggers me, and then I'll be like just formulating this answer in my head. And many times I stop paying attention because I'm just like, all right, I'm going to avalanche this guy with a bunch of facts that he just can't deny. And then many times I just realized like he wasn't even talking about that thing. So I was like, dude, I got to become a better listener. And, you know, even with like, for example, with my wife, you know, like she would say things, but I would interpret them a different way, you know, and I would always get defensive, you know. So this is why I was like realizing, man, you know, being a good listener, it really is a superpower. And one of the things that I really love about you, Marcus, is that, you know, like I'll go on these like 2, 3, 5 minute monologues, and I'll see you kind of swaying back and forth. But then, you know, you'll regurgitate what I just said, you know, and do it like in 30 seconds, you know, and really distill it down to like, what was the essence of Sabo trying to say right here? And, you know, that's super important. You know, we're trying to keep like these 6 minute, like a 6 minute podcast where we teach people things, and, you know, shit, you know, like sometimes my intro is like 6 minutes. So I really appreciate that ability to like distill down, you know, all these things that I'm saying, because yeah, it's like if you have all the time in the world, you could watch shit. How long have I been broadcasting now? 40 minutes, you know, but most of the time, when you're on Facebook, you know, you're probably taking a shit or, you know, preparing some food for your kids, and you're just watching like 2 or 3 minute clips. So yeah, I just want to give you some props yourself, Marcus.
Oh, thanks, man. Those truth bombs are making me laugh, because that's the way it is. And thanks for that appreciation. I'll take that, and I'll use it to get on my soapbox a little bit. And I also want to appreciate that, you know, as someone who's learning how to leverage my presence online, or just enjoy myself, not even speak about leverage, is like, you got to be aware of just taking up space, you know, on the Facebook feed. And one thing I love about you, Sabo, is that you're unapologetic about it, and not in like a way that like, it's in a way that it's attractive to me. Like you're unapologetic and you're authentic, and it's like, hey, this is who I am. It's kind, it's respectful, and it's sincere. The power of listening. I just want to speak a little bit to that. Yeah, I advertise this thing I believe in so much. It's my giveaway project. A couple years ago, it's called Growing a Deep Listening Network. But I think that's too complicated, so I'm just calling it the Community Listening Project. And those were some hard-earned lessons, man, of like being with women in my life, because I'm a straight male. And even though I saw your pubic hairs the other day, was that I was not able to listen to her, and she would try to tell me, and she would say like, well, I don't know how long we're going to be together for. And I was just like, no, we're going to be together forever. And I distilled it to these two simple things. I had the will, but I didn't have the skill to listen to her, because I loved her so much. I would have done anything to make that relationship work. And I did for like a year. I tried everything, And then later, when I got a little bit more mature and learned actually that I wasn't listening, that I was only just interpreting everything that she said through my own filters, I started developing some skill through the help of like nonviolent communication, Dr. Marshall Rosenberg's work, and just other kind of basic active listening practices. And where I'm at right now is like, I like to call like it's beyond listening and beyond, because it's deceptively simple, but because most people are also on a quest to like find the real vital essence of their authenticity. That means I don't want to follow this like blocky like these steps, you know what I mean? But anybody who's proficient in anything knows that the steps are just there to help guide you at first until you find your own your own freestyle, your own flow. So what I want to say, it's interesting because as I'm speaking, I can feel when I'm losing my like vitality, right? And that's the problem with having such a big blank. So you're developing these skills like you are in like a kung fu or like a martial arts, and I can tell when I'm losing somebody, and I can tell when I'm like, oh, they're really with me. Okay, I'm bringing them back, and I can tell when it's just time for me to stop and say, hey, thanks for listening. I'm gonna pass it back off to you because I'm just working out my own thoughts, right? And thanks for being so gracious with that, Sabo.
Yeah, you know what I love about you, Marcus, and I guess we're developing a bromance here. You saw my pubes the other day. Shit.
Nice.
Is that it's you're like this really awesome facilitator. You're a really great facilitator, but you also share a lot of like, I don't know how to describe it. I don't want to say insecurity. What's the right word I'm looking for? But, many times when people are facilitating, they try to lead by like this uber confident, like, I don't even want to say alpha male persona, but like this really strong leadership persona.
Yeah.
But, you always like do this really great job of becoming vulnerable. And, like, it's like when you're not feeling something, you'll just say, hey, I'm not feeling it right now. It's time for someone else to take the mic, whereas for me, I'm just like, oh, I'm not feeling it right now. Okay, I gotta like rhyme about like some funnier shit and just like, and then many times I put myself into this weird rat hole where I'm like rapping about stuff that I'm not even like passionate about, but it sounds kind of funny or something, and I'm like, you know what? That's when it's time for me to like just pass the mic, because at a certain point, it's like, all right, I got what I wanted to say off my chest, and now I'm just kind of like verbally just doing some diarrhea right now to keep holding court, when I should just pass it to the next person and allow the next person to express themselves.
Yeah, are you finished?
I'm finished.
Just kidding, man. I'm just teasing you. Yeah, thanks for that appreciation. Yeah, it's funny being online because there's a little bit of that pressure, There's a little bit of that pressure to not take your time. It's not to not take your time, but it's just like, and if I like the word superpower, Sabo, you mentioned that before. And I'm thinking of, we've talked about 8 Animals Kung Fu a little bit, kind of being so for those of you who are listening, 8 Animals Kung Fu is like, there was old Shaw Brothers movies, and, the traditions of Shaolin and Wudang, and it's very, for me as a child, and maybe you too, I grew up with the fascination of Kung Fu masters and like Tiger Paw and Leopard Paw and Mantis Fist. And there were these fighters, combat styles that were based on observing how animals would fight and defend themselves and mimic them. Very, really, really cool stuff. And and Sabo talks about superpowers as listening, and I want to bring that in as this idea of, in this day and age, we were talking a little bit about warriorship and training, and what a badass Asian dude is. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I love going full circle. Badass Asian dude, and like, what does it mean to be a badass? And that kind of like borders line like warriorship, and I know you trained as a fighter. I've trained for a little bit as a fighter, but there's a lot of movement, even in the modern men's movement. It's like the new kind of warrior is someone who looks at their own shadow, who's willing to look at their own shit and ask, what's my responsibility in all this? I'm going to drop a really good quote as I noticed the attention span waning. And like Angela Darian, she's like an indigenous woman from the States. I don't know what nation she's from, but she says, she talks about the word respeciere, which is the root word, the Latin etymology of the word respect. And she says, for a warrior walks a path of respect. And that's one of the most important qualities of a warrior. Respeciere, the root, has something to do with, the warrior has the power, has the willingness. Respeciere is the willingness to look again and to say, oh, maybe I was wrong, it's like to look at something again. And in that way, I feel like we're walking the path of warriorship, especially around these racial dynamics. Like, I thought, like, man, like, you can argue your, like, I like what you said, say, Bobo, I was avalanche of facts to like just tell you that actually, no, you're not right. But, and I have my own rigidity in those areas where I just think I'm right about things. But the warrior walks with a path of respect, and like, I want to hear what you have to say. I'm gonna like wait my turn because I have self-control. I've practiced my self-control. They say like, a pacifist can only be a pacifist if they actually use violence, right? A pacifist is someone who doesn't. It's like if they know their power to harm someone because they've trained in the deadly arts, right? That was from a book called The Way of the Warrior. Anyways, I'm getting a little frazzled here, but let me see if we can bring it back. So superpowers, listening is like this power that is able to disarm, it's like a form of Aikido. It's like I can listen, and with a real skill, I've sometimes, not always, been able to disarm a very aggressive person. And they were just like, yo, dude, like everybody thinks I'm the fucking asshole, but you just like, something magical happens. So thanks for being interested in that, Sabo. And it sounds like you've had some of your own life tribulations, which have allowed you to become a more authentic listener versus what I call a better listener.
Yeah,
Well, actually, I'm not done. Just kidding.
Okay. Nice. Marcus, the comedian now. Not just the world bridger, he's also a comedian. Hey, single ladies, go check out Marcus Fung. He'll make you laugh, he'll make you cry, he'll play music for your kids. He's a true Renaissance man. But all joking aside, and I didn't mean those things, but joking aside, like what you talked about the warrior and then the shadow work, that really resonates with me, because the people that know me, they know like I've done martial arts my whole life. I've boxed, I've done some MMA, I do jiu-jitsu. I also run a company, right? These are all things that I think from the outside, people are like, oh man, entrepreneurs take a huge risk, that's really brave. Or you're getting in the ring with another person that's trained to beat your ass. That's really brave, and they're right. These things require a lot of courage. But what I always tell people is what required the most courage for me was not any outside opposition, but the inside opposition that I had with myself. And there's a person asking, is Marcus the World Bridger on YouTube? So interested in the stuff that you have. So Marcus, her name is Tara Lee. I'll get her the information after this.
Hey Tara, yeah. I'll just send you my Sable will send over my YouTube link. I mean, it's just a bunch of kind of random stuff, not random, but stuff on COVID. And I'll tell you a little bit about World Bridger. And thanks Tara Lee for tuning in. I can't see you, but if you're connected to Sable, that's a heartwarming feeling for me. And so basically, long story short, one day I woke up in a nightmare. And I was in a psychiatric ward after 8 or 9 years of training on a very specific path of ritual and shamanism. And I didn't know what to do with my life because everything had fallen apart. So as I was, and this was COVID times, I realized I had my my life was like, I had all these different rooms. I had like children's music, I had sound healing, I had personal work, I had traditional work, I had ancestral work, I had my interest in like so many different places. And I realized on YouTube, I go and I like to visit like hip hop, I like to visit breakdancing, I like to visit martial arts, I like to visit, I mean, those are bad examples, but all kinds of different worlds. And I realized each of those worlds had its own culture and its own, you know how you kind of end up on a world on YouTube and sometimes it's not that pleasant. You're like, holy shit, there's a lot of like really ignorant people who are just like so okay with like using really hurtful words. And I realized that if my YouTube page could be like a bridge for people who liked all the things all the worlds that I was connected to and meet other people by me being a world bridger, then that would be a good use of my life force at this time, be a world bridger. And so on my page, there's a bunch of things with like sound healing, there's puppet shows, there's some laughter yoga. It's a little bit scattered, but it's just a work in progress. Thanks for your interest.
Yeah. And this is what I love about the modern world that we're living in is, those seem like a very kind of eclectic set of interests or things that you're putting online. You're like, hey, what's the connection? Well, the connection is this is what Marcus Fung likes to do, and kind of like, I kind of go, when I think about my personal brand, or, it's kind of funny to even say personal brand, but when I think of my personal brand, I think of, okay, I'm like a dad, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a martial artist, I'm also a guy that loves psychedelics, I love healthy living. And maybe people that are into those same 5 things, maybe it's not millions of people, but there's enough people that are into that where when they hear me talk about these things, it resonates with them. And ultimately, for me, one thing that I've really come to believe is when you speak your authentic truth, it's not going to resonate with everyone, but it's going to resonate with the right people. So I'm really, really trying to work on that part, which is really stating all the things that are important to me, not overstate or not trying to appear bigger than I am, not trying to appear more humble than I am, and really just trying to present, the most real version of me. And I feel like I'm doing a better job of that, and it is through kind of like all the learnings from you, Gavin, and all the other people that, I can't remember, Rob as well, Rob Wing, and there's a bunch of coaches that, I've
Bruce
met.
Lee.
And Bruce Lee, and a bunch of coaches that I've met since COVID-19. And, this kind of brings it back to this whole listening thing, which is, through COVID, I started getting the feeling like, hey, I want to be a coach too. I think I have the ability to be a decent coach. And one of the things that I've been really working on, and that, I started coaching some people just, not officially, but, just kind of like some mentorship. And what I realized was when you really listen, when you really acknowledge someone, many times that's all that they were looking for, like they kind of knew like what advice they needed to follow already. It was nothing that I needed to tell them, but I just needed to hold the space, acknowledge them. And man, it's kind of crazy to think like, that's not to say I don't need to learn a whole bunch of other skills to add on top of this. But what I realized was for the vast majority of these people that are upset, when you ask them enough questions, a lot of them just don't feel heard. And when you hear them and you acknowledge them, a different part of them comes out. And when that different part of them comes out, they're more receptive, they're more motivated, they're more passionate, they're more alive.
They're more themselves,
Yeah.
Oh, dude, man, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but I'm gonna take that stick from you, and it's my turn now.
Your turn. Your turn.
just bugging. My Trickster is coming out. I used to run this school called Compassionate Trickster Kindergarten, and it was about people who like to play tricks on other people, but not in a mean way, but in a compassionate way. And Carolyn Casey, she runs the Coyote Council. The coyote is often an animal in one culture, especially in North American Native culture, as the trickster. But every culture has their own symbol. Like in Chinese culture, it's the Monkey King. And she talks about the trickster is like it's genius. It's nature's genius way of teaching. Just saying, hey, try this. try this. And they're not as concerned with right or wrong, but teaches in a very unorthodox way. And what does ortho mean? Ortho means straight, like orthodontics. I want to get my teeth straight. And unorthodox is like, bagua, kung fu is like all these different angles and like, and using spirals. And, it's like, that's what I love about breakdancing is that it's this, you're pivoting your body weight and you're engaging your weight in yourself. And I think we all desire to be engaged, but before that, fully engaged. But before that, Sabo said there's this thing about listening and his coaching, and that when people he's noticed that when people just get that acknowledgement, something happens, something really special happens. And that's what the Community Listening Project is about, is so that more people can get that. Because there's just an ideas are really potent, that those are primal satisfactions in our lives, to be seen and heard without judgment, support before challenge. And in this world, we've got a lot of people challenging each other, like, you're wrong about this, and and debating. But it's like, what the balance could be is if more people felt supported, even if it's like really fucked up, but they just need to be listened to, because they need to have a seat at the table, right? Because they probably didn't have it in their family or and it just keeps perpetuating is more trouble. It's simple, but it's just something that we can do. And that power of listening starts getting into healing, what it means to heal, to be witnessed, to be observed. And so when we have those primal satisfactions, then we're more able to become the genius of our own genius, and we're able to take the support, the challenge that people need, that we also need to be challenged to grow into the next version of ourselves. We need to have my ideas challenged. And I just want to say, Sabo, I think I'm guessing that for you, as like someone who trains combatively, that's probably who you are as a combatant. You're authentic. You're not trying to show more than who you are. You're not trying to be more humble, than you are, or more enlightened than you are. And that probably makes you a pretty effective fighter, I'm guessing. I mean, I would kick your ass in like 2 minutes, but I'm just kidding.
You know what? I'm going to pull that Monkey King monkey staff back from you and take the mic again. And you know what? Actually, tangential story. Hopefully this doesn't sidetrack me, but my first company, Vape Exhale, if you look at the logo actually is the Monkey King. And the second company I run, Hanu, is actually short for Hanuman. Yeah. I wish the third company, Burner, had some association, but yeah, I really identify with like the trickster god, and just having fun while trying to teach, because we all know that just kind of taking in dry information, unless you're really into the subject, it's tough. But if you make something fun to learn, you can almost learn about everything and anything. Yeah, so it's time for me to go eat some breakfast in the next minute or two, but I did really want to thank you, Marcus, for joining this impromptu podcast, or whatever we want to call this thing. I don't know if you could see it, but I put like your name, Marcus the World Bridger, above your name.
Nice.
Yeah, you can see it in the broadcast when you look at it on Facebook.
I'll go check
you'll
it
see
out.
all that stuff. But
still looking in the Facebook mirror, like, so how did I look on that Facebook Live?
yes, you look as handsome as always. Just a little purple though.
Don't you want to know why I'm purple?
Yes, I do want to know why you're purple.
So, I was trying to get this DS. Mercury retrograde happened. I fried my webcam. I fried someone else's webcam. I was trying to hook up my DSLR to web, but it wouldn't work with Skype. So I have this old school webcam, which is like from the 90s or something, and it looks like psychedelia. So that's why it's purple. And I think I get a little attached to seeing myself in HD or even 4K. But hey, this is me. This is me in 640, 480.
Did you end up getting that Brio?
I did, man.
Nice. Well, I look forward to you hooking up that Brio. We are, let's see, what's today? Thursday? Will you be at Ganja, or will you be at Flow Masters tomorrow?
No, today's Friday, man.
Today's Thursday.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Oh, that makes life a lot easier. I was like, I got all these things to do today.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks for clarifying that. No, I won't be. I actually don't smoke ganja, and that's not like, I have some bias towards it, but I'm losing, that bias is softening, and that's another story. because everybody has something to say, and I'm always looking for people who smoke ganja who are like healthy. And I think I've been studying your styles and your, where I could like make an attack to see if you're vulnerable there. But I think you're pretty good. You're pretty good. Your defenses are good. Hey Tara, thanks for listening. I don't know who else is listening out there. I've been having fun. Sable's a new friend of mine. He came on to a show of mine called the Idea Pollinator Podcast. If you're out there, it's a segment. It's a game where you get to just challenge yourself to share an idea in 6 minutes or less. It's not really a new idea, but it's just, come check it out. You listen to Sable talk, you scroll down my page, and Tara, if you want to come on, I'd love to feature you sometime and even talk to you a little bit more about the essence of the project and why I'm so stoked about it. Sable, thanks so much, man. It's great hanging out with you, and
you as well. Now I'm gonna go pull down my pants. I'm kidding.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. Don't do that. That will get you banned from Facebook. All right, guys.
Yeah.
Hey, have a great morning. For everyone that watched the full hour, you know what? You might win an Alpha Pen. I may just choose one of the guys that have commented and send you guys an Alpha Pen. So you know what? That's the bonus for staying with us. And that's the power of being Sabe Oprah, baby. You get a pen. I get a pen. We all get a pen. Yes.
I think I'm going to start vaping cannabis just because it's so cool.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Respect, man. Respect, Sabo. Thanks for being a positive role model.
All right.
I'll catch you guys later. Anyone who's interested in my deep listening project, I offer a free intro workshop to help building a community of better listeners, and that's happening every other Sunday. Just drop me a line on my page, and I'll send you a flyer.
All right. Let's do a quick shout out. Shout out to Mia Jane. Shout out to Justin Louie. Shout out to Vincent True. These people just hopped on the last minute. You know what? You're going to have to hit rewind. Watch all the magic that we talked about. There's tons of good nuggets. Maybe you just skip to the part where Marcus is talking because he just basically summarized a lot of the stuff that I was saying if you got to save some time. But if you got a full hour, if you're constipated, if you're sitting on the toilet and you got a full hour, watch the whole thing. Learn some stuff. Drop some comments in the Twitch and the YouTube and the Facebook stream. I love watching Marcus smile. I feel like that's my job. Make people smile. And actually, just one last thing before we jump off is, we were talking about different metrics like, is GDP a good metric for your country? Is revenue a good metric for your company? And what I always say is the most important metric in my life is SPH. SPH is like MPH, miles per hour, but it's actually smiles per hour. So we got to get the smiles per hour super high. And if you have a resting bitchy face, yeah, just try to smile, And that's the one thing that I realized before I jump off is, people can't see me smiling with my COVID mask on, but when I go walk around, I just make it a point to wave to people, to acknowledge them, and I see the change in their day. I could see in their eyes. They're a little bit happier, and I know that if I get the smiles per hour up, we could change the world. So Marcus, let's, I know you're down for this cause. Let's get the smiles per hour up, and thank you everyone for watching, and for sure, this is the last goodbye. I think I said goodbye 10 minutes ago, but that's why that 6-minute idea pollinator is such a good thing.